Hello everybody, I hit record and welcome to the Raven Guards because the game was being annoying and wouldn't let me drop the S. Yes, welcome everyone to another one of my thrilling half-an-hour chapter masters. And this time, in this lovely looking little sector, we are going to play as the Raven Guard, one of my second favourite legion and one of my favourite first founding chapters. So yes, ooh, a single frigate. Excellent. So yes, sit back and enjoy guys while I talk about the Raven Guard, a bit of the gameplay, and all of that lovely stuff that you all know and appreciate from me occasionally. Alright, now what have we got? Got another frigate. Nothing in this sector. I want this ship to move up with this ship before I do anything. That was the plan, wasn't it? Yes, got orcs in here to deal with. What's over here? Nothing. It's that one frigate. Alright. Yes, as with the Raven Guard themselves, I'm playing as a... I'm doing a loose organization. I'm just going to do, little ships together. Single companies here and there. And we're going to carry on with the Raven Guard. Just wait for everyone to get into position. Oh, let us praise the Sisters of Battle. We understand, Sisters of Battle. The Raven Guard seek no rewards beyond their beyond the praise of themselves and service to the Emperor, and they will not hamper you any longer. Something I always liked about the Raven Guard was they were never... I'll send some escorts back to the home world just as a security screen. They never really went out of their way. Orc Presence Extreme. I'll probably send them back actually. See what they can do about it. But yeah, the Raven Guard never went out of their way to seek glory. They never, built massive monuments to themselves or sought, after laurels. They knew who they were, what they were. They did their duty. They did it well, and then they carried on. And I appreciate that about the Raven Guard. They're humble, unlike the Sons of Horus or the Ultramarines that went out of their way to bestow 50 billion laurels upon themselves. They just did their job and carried on. And I appreciate that. What have we got in Orc Presence Heavy, Orc Presence Moderate, Orc Presence Moderate. Raid, there's only 50, there's only one company of Marines. We'll give it a go. The Sons of Corvus Corax do not back down. Oh, Raven Guard. We lost 2 Assault Marines, but we struck a decisive blow into the ranks of the enemy. Glory be to Corvus Corax and the Raven Guard. Victoris aut mortis. Oh, look at that. Good works, Raven Guard. You've given much honor this day. I kind of like the raiding tactic. Let's quickly go to the settings. Let's have a look in the raid and see what's up. Dreadnought and Assault Marines. Dreadnoughts can go with the Assault Marines. And everything else... I might put the hirelings on the front line as well. Right, that should be fine with that. Okay. Yeah, so carrying on, I really like the Raven Guard as a legion there. The Horus Heresy force I'm actually doing is the Raven Guard, which I'm maybe or maybe not. I might talk about them at the end of the video because I don't want to bore you guys to death too much with my own personal company and all the lore and stuff behind it. So instead we're just going to talk about my opinions on the Raven Guard, and I encourage all of you to, if you agree or disagree with some of my viewpoints, share them in the comments because I do check them every day, guys. Every day in the morning, which is probably evening for most of my viewers. 4 suits of power armor and 4th company have been affected. Oh, Tyranid Bioslime. Fourth Company. Who have been affected? You guys, it appears. Re-equip you with Mark 6 core Mark 7 Aquila. Oh, the Raven Guard should have a lot of Mark 6. That's very disappointing. So I can't believe all these assault marines are wounded. No matter, where was this company? Oh yeah, over here. Yeah, so no, sorry, I'm getting distracted by the game again, lads. Please, lads and ladettes, let me get back to it. Yeah, the Raven Guard are my second favourite of the legions, and I like them because they're ones, they admit their own mistakes. They know who they are and what they are. They're humble, and they're equal parts light and dark, which is something I kind of appreciate as well. I cannot attack because I only have escort ships. I will make them head towards the nearest heavy ships. But yeah, I mean the Raven Guard when they were founded, it's quite interesting the massive change between, you know, when they were created and when they were founded. Not when they were founded, when they, you know, served. But originally, the Raven Guard were more like the Night Lords than the Raven Guard that we know and love today. They were brutal, they were using terror tactics, they were heavy assault orientated, and they were kind of bastards, really. They sort of just, you know, basically went like the Night Lords, going around murdering shit and using terror tactics. And they basically were treated as an extension of the Sons of Horus, who they served, or the Lunar Wolves, I should say, which is who they served under. In fact, they kind of really looked up to they really looked up to Horus over their own Primarch, which was interesting. So when Corax actually got in command of his legion, he realized, you know, that basically the own forces under his command were, you know, nothing more than tyrants and the very things he stood against. He actually went out of his way to admit his mistakes, like the mistakes of his legion, and reform them. And these raid tactics are bloody amazing. A heavy Tyranid force. It's just, you just look at the kill screen on the left. They're just being cut apart at the loss of 4 assault marines. That is awesome. Oh, I love these Raven Guard. But anyway, yeah, Corax actually went out of his way to admit his mistakes and set about reforming his legion. And unlike fucking Petarablo, who murdered 1/10 of his entire legion for not being the best, or Angron, who killed anyone he didn't like, or, you know, Kurz, who probably murdered and ate everyone he didn't like, Corax actually assigned warriors to non-command roles, reformed all the Terran companies, and sent all, you know, the bloodthirsty ones on, basically on their own crusade fleets, which meant they continued to serve the Imperium and kill, you know, enemies of the Emperor, but they didn't, you know, their ideals and standards didn't pollute the rest of his legion, which I consider quite a humane, you know, thing to do when, as I've already stated, most of the other legions, you know, and Primarchs just murdered everyone they didn't really appreciate. So I really like that. It's good. And Corax himself, everyone accuses Corax of being emo, and I've never understood that, because he does get a little bit emotional, but it's nothing compared to the likes of what, you know, not what the Lion or especially Dawn was like during and after the Heresy. You kidding me? Corax wasn't actually that emo at all. He was a bit, you know, saddened by some of the mistakes and things he had to do in his life, but like with his legion, he understood them, owned up to his mistakes, and accepted them, and, you know, carried on. You know, unlike everyone else that just got really depressed and blamed everyone else for their problems. So I really appreciate that. And the original thing about, you know, Corax being emo, he did have a bit of shit in his time, but he actually, you know, there was a reason for it. When Corax crash landed on his home planet, it was under the heel of, basically the evil Mechanicum, like the guilds, and they were violent, murdering enslavers that, enslaved anyone they didn't like on the moon of Deliverance, or Lycery, as it was called when Corax was around. And basically, any political dissidents, anyone they didn't like, they just sent to slave labor on this planet. So when Corax landed there, his first initial, response was to, use his powers and amazing abilities to basically kick the shit out of everyone and reclaim the planet for the people. But he was advised, if you do it wrong, violence only breeds more violence, and you'll never get anywhere. So he learnt patience and restraint from his new master, not his new masters, from his adoptive family. So he actually, understood, warfare, poetry, philosophy, science from other people. And learnt patience and restraint, unlike some other Primarchs. And actually, moulded his standing on that. So when he eventually did free his, free the moon, there was minimal casualties, minimal innocents killed, and he actually, treated, his captors, well, with some fairness. So, all was good. Unfortunately, the big problem was, sorry, I'm trying to concentrate on the game and do this at the same time. Yeah, the problem was, he basically, bottom line so short, he had to nuke about hundreds, I think it was 100,000 innocent people to save millions of others. So as a result, he learned, consequences and sacrifice from that incident, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, that kind of thing. Because once he freed the moon, all of the, guild masters kept trying to take it back, and they kept whittling down his forces and, kicking into them, and slowly and surely, he was losing, men every day, and he knew he couldn't keep it up much longer. So he didn't want to do it, but he basically nuked the cities on the planet below as a warning, if you try and attack us, we will nuke you. And unfortunately, innocent people died as a result. So he learned, the value of sacrifice, and, learned about the needs of the many outweighing the needs of the few, which is a good little lesson. So, as a result of that, he's always been concerned about civilian casualties, and Corax was always mindful about those under his command and losing too many men. And everyone, as a result, because he actually has feelings and isn't just a psychotic kill machine like Angron, everyone calls him emo for it, which is very uncalled for in my opinion, because he is not emo at all. I don't have any men there, do I? I just have escort ships. Well, that's annoying, isn't it? But yeah, he wasn't that bad at all. And Corax himself, was actually a pretty cool Primarch. I mean, he beat Robute Gilliman in tactical simulation combat. He beat him like 3 times in, tactical simulation by using raid tactics and, clumped together forces. And, come on, beating Gilliman in, tactical combat situation like that is pretty awesome. He also, stood up, apparently, I don't really know how much Horus was holding back, but apparently he, held his own against Horus in their sparring deals they had together. So, who knows? Lost 2 assault marines. And 7th Company lost a suit of power armor. So, yeah, Corax was actually, a good guy. Everyone does, when they think about, his emo-ness, they do think about the Drop Site Massacre, which is understandable, because he did go through a lot. But, think about it, to Corax's mind, he was the only loyal Primarch that survived. He, basically, he saw Ferris die and Vulcan vanished. He assumed he was the last loyal son left. He was guilty at himself because he fought a 2v1 against Lorgar and Conrad Kurz, and eventually, was forced to withdraw because he couldn't take on them both. Which, in that fight, is really interesting, because Corax kicked the shit out of Lorgar. He would have cut his head off. He was that close to cutting off his head. Conrad Kerr's not intervened. And, you know, everyone says, oh, Corax couldn't fight for shit. Well, hello, he fought a 2v1 and somehow managed to survive and managed to kick the crap out of Lorgar, so that's not for nothing. I mean, yeah. I think, how many Primarchs have done a 2v1? Conrad Kurz has done a 2v1 against Gilliman and the Lion. Gilliman has done a 2v1 against Angron and Lorgar. Corax has done Lorgar and Kurz. And that's it. So, you know, Corax is actually in a small minority of people that did a 2v1 and actually, you know, actually managed to survive, so, you know, that's a pretty good bonus right there. Let's just keep attacking. Oh, I love this. Oh, why did I not switch that to raid? That was my fault. I should have done raid. I keep forgetting that I'm playing as the Raven Guard, Sons of Corax, and they work better at raiding than they do at direct assaults. Enemy forces. Raven Guard. I'm suffering a bit of casualties. 7 Assault Marines, 1 Tactical, and 6 Devastator. Ooh. See, that's what happens when you don't raid. Now, I'll learn that for next time. Anyway. Carrying on. So, yeah, Corax. I don't get why people say Corax was emo. I mean, have you read any of the Horus Heresy stuff about Dawn and what he was like? I mean, that is pretty emo. Corax was just sort of depressed, let's be honest. I mean, his legion was, what was it? 80. Yeah, it was 90,000 strong. He lost 85,000 men at the Drop Site Massacre. You know, so 85,000 men of his sons were killed at the Drop Site Massacre. Basically, his entire region was virtually wiped out. He you know, watched Ferris die and Vulcan vanish. You know, he assumed that he was all alone. He had no ability to rebuild his legion, and in his mind, he failed because he didn't. Oh, they're probably going to get the shit kicked out of him for this, aren't they? He failed because he ran away from the drop site. He didn't, you know, stand and fight and die with honor as he wanted to. Yeah, these Raven Guards are dead. Damn it! That was my fault. I shouldn't have done that. Rest in peace, Sons of Corax. Send your ships back to Deliverance. We'll regroup and rearm you. Anyway. So yeah. Corax wasn't actually that emo. He was depressed, but he had a reason to be depressed. You know, all half his brothers had betrayed him, and the other half were either dead or missing. You know, he had lost all of his sons. He was alone, and you know, he was a bit down, and I can appreciate that. I mean, Corax did what he did. And the Raven Guard themselves are awesome. I mean, come on. Hit and run tactics, guerrilla fighting, assaults, you know, jump packs, Mark 6 Corvus armor. All of these things are totally awesome about them. The Raven Guard don't get much fluff about them, which is always sad, but the fluff that is there is always pretty good. I mean, the Raven Guard are actually some of the few that actually give a crap about civilian casualties. And actually go out of their way to, you know, safeguard the civilians, which is awesome. They destroy tyrants, they, you know, fight enemies of the Imperium, and they ask for no reward or nothing in return. And that's pretty awesome to me. Yeah. So I don't know, what do you guys think of the Raven Guard? Because I like them. A lot of people seem mixed opinions about them, and whenever Corax is mentioned, they always talk about him being emo. But I think that's bollocks. And I think the Raven Guard are pretty cool. I mean, if we're talking about emo and bullshit, then I think the Iron Hands certainly need to go on that list. If we're just talking about emo, then Rogel Dawn needs to go on that list. if we want to talk about super emo, messed up, psychotic, insane, dumb, stupid mental illness, talk about Conrad Kurz. But Corax was actually a good warrior, a good fighter, and a decent human being. Pity that he disappeared. I don't understand the logic behind, the Primarch disappearings myself. I mean, all of them seem to bugger off. And it didn't seem for any logical reason. I mean, they all just upped and left. It was like, have you ever seen that episode of Monty Python where the one with the Scotsman, where there's a mysterious space ray that turns everyone in England into Scotsmen, and they all just suddenly, turn into Scotsmen and up and turn around and leave, and, walk away. I imagine it's something like that. A ray was just shone on all the Primarchs, and they went, right, time to go kill ourselves in the Eye of Terror, and all the loyalist Primarchs got up and left. By the way, I know you're probably you're typing in a new window, Monty Python Scotsman scene, and I'd recommend you pause this video and actually watch it, because it's funny. Old British comedies are good. I highly recommend old British comedies over newer style American comedies. It's not that they're not good, it's just I like the older style of humor over the modern style of humor. I'm not a fan of internet references and toilet humor and crap like that. I like something that has a bit of wit behind it. But anyway, enough about TV shows, back to Warhammer. Dawn of War 3 was announced a week ago. I was going to do a video about it, but then every arsehole was doing a video about Dawn of War 3 speculation, and I felt I'm never one for following the curve, and I felt that it would be redundant. So instead, I'm going to fold my opinions on Dawn of War 3 right here. First off, opinion overall is actually rather mixed, let's be honest. I'm going to be lukewarm about this one, because a lot of the material I read sounded a bit suspect. I mean, them talking about the what was it, the Imperial Knight, this is the biggest model we've ever created, and it's going to be a legendary hero unit that you can use to combat, and that immediately raised off about 50 alarm bells, because I'm thinking, so a big game developer doing a knight is the biggest, most awesome, 3D model they've ever done, and it will be the most best elite hero unit in the game, yet one mad Russian dude can model an entire Warhound Titan, plus Baneblades, Shadow Swords, Storm Lords, I mean, Land Raider Crusaders, Land Raider Redeemers, Demon Princes by himself with the Titanium mods for Dark Crusade and Soulstorm. So that sounds like a bit sus to me. Second, it sounds like they're trying to mix the original Dawn of War style with Dawn of War 2, with the heroes and customization and stuff. And I never actually liked Dawn of War 2. I didn't like I mean, it was a bit true more to canon, 10 Space Marines should be able to destroy an army of orcs. That's in the canon, that's how it goes. But it doesn't make for interesting gameplay, in my personal opinion, and it's not what I want to see. I want to see, I want to see thousands of guardsmen swarming on the breach, titans, baneblades, hellhammers, a company of space marines deep striking in, explosions, demons, massive heavy battles like are referenced in the, novels. Like, I want to refight the Battle of Terror and the Drop Site Massacre. I don't want to fight 5 Space Marines versus 10 Space Marines. That's not fun. 6 Marines, yeah, bugger that. I ain't doing that. So, I never liked Dawn of War 2. So, them trying to combine the both of them, I'm not sure about. I mean, I do like the stuff they said, we're going to make the battles bigger and better and have, hundreds of units on the battlefield. That sounds pretty good. I can dig it. But things like, the Knight being an elite hero unit, that's dumb. You should be able to build them from a Titan facility, like in Titanium Wars mod, like a Baneblade facility, like in Dark Crusade and Soulstorm. They should just be units that you can build and rebuild, not elite heroes that you have to level up and upgrade and build, build once, and once it's dead, it's dead. To me, that just seems bollocks on a biscuit. But I'll remain cautiously optimistic for the future. We'll see. I mean, that trailer showed no gameplay whatsoever, which always is a worrying sign, but considering that was the announcement trailer as opposed to, an actual trailer, I will let it slide. And it was pretty bloody awesome. I loved the scene where the Blood Ravens all crouch down and lean their heads forward and weather the storm. That just seems like such an awesome Space Marine moment, and I can perfectly appreciate that. What have we got here? One frigate. Carry on, frigate. For the Emperor. So, yeah, we'll see what happens with Dawn of War 3. Hopefully it will be good. I might, maybe... I won't pre-order it, but I might buy it day one. Probably. We'll see when it comes out. So yeah, should be good. But in the meantime, if you really want to play a big open Dawn of War game, just buy Dark Crusade on Steam and install the Titanium Wars mod. I mean, that adds it's horribly, well, not horribly, but it is unbalanced, but it adds Warhound Scout Titans, it adds greater demons of Khorne, Nurgle, Slaanesh, Tzench, it adds, Orc Stompers, it adds Necron Pylons, Wave Serpents, Revenant Titans, basically in every unit that was missed out from the original Dawn of War. Swooping Hawks, Howling Banshee X-Arch squads, Inquisitorial Stormtroopers, Sternguard veterans, Vanguard veterans. It adds all of them into the game, and you should really check it out. Are you just two escorts again, or do you not exist? Escort? Huh? Go over there. Go over there. Okay, it's a Phantom Fleet. It's a Phantom Fleet. It's the Kakaradons. We'll ignore them. Oh, a frigate and 2 escort. That's not a bad little fleet. Nothing else about. Carry on. But yeah, so that's my opinions on Dawn of War 3. And what else? Not too much else, really, I wanted to discuss. I've talked about Corax and how he wasn't emo and actually was an awesome Primarch. And you should totally actually look up his fluff, because it's interesting. And how the Raven Guard are awesome, because, well, they are. I mean, hit and run, stealth assault warriors, black armor, bolt guns, Mark 6 power armor. That's all the things that, to me, sound totally awesome. This company's pretty low, but I'm going to keep fighting with them. Talked about Dawn of War 3. I don't really know. You guys should, in the comments, just start posting me or asking me questions, guys. Ask me some questions. I don't care. 40k, real life, whatever you want. I do actually read the comments. So, my friends out there, please, feel free to post comments and questions, because I'm actually interested, and I'd like to bulk out these series a little bit. So, yeah. I'm going to talk about my own personal Raven Guard company now that I'm doing for Denounce, Vile Orc. I'm doing for the Horus Heresy. The models and stuff I'm making up. So, unless you want to hear me, wank off my own personal company and discuss all the lore and fluff and, what happened to them during the Dropsite Massacre and stuff, I will see you again another time, and I, will understand completely if you switch off this video now. So, bye-bye everybody that chooses to shut off. Bye. Are they gone? Good. Right. Now for fun. Yes, so for the Horus Heresy force I'm doing my own personal force, the 115th Company of the Raven Guard, led by Captain Arius Vitaro. Damn, I keep getting power armor suits damaged. By Captain Arius Vitaro. Yes, Captain Vitaro was an original Terran, part of the original Legion, who was inducted into it 40 years before Corax showed up, and actually served as part of the original Raven Guard Legion before Corax showed up. He was a strong, dependent fighter. He never really, he was a line captain. He never really, stood out, and he never really, did anything to dishonor himself. He was happy to do his job, do it well, and carry on fighting. Like the most of his, legion, he was brought up for a few brutal, assault tactics, and he was known to get stuck in with his chainsword, and eventually, if that breaks, fight enemies with his bare hands, which got him the name Red-Handed, but that was also gifted to him, and strengthened by something else he did later on, which I'll get to. So yeah, he was he fought very strongly of the original Legion and of Horus, thought he was an honourable Primarch, and was hoping his Primarch would be, just as honourable and noble as he was. He did get a bit of a surprise, old Vataro did, when Corax showed up and basically, denounced every practice that his Legion had done, and ordered their reformation. He was quite shocked and saddened that his Primarch would think so little of his Legion that they wouldn't even, hear them out, let them explain their side of the story, and, why they choose to use these tactics, and, how they've been working for them in the past. But he accepted his new Primarch's wishes and began to reform and, retrain his company, accepting new recruits from Deliverance, and, branding his company in the Corax's new image. Which was actually, incidentally, what saved him from being exiled, along with many of the other high-ranking Legion officers of the pre-Corax days. So, yeah, so Vataro, went around, and it was also that and his refusal to join the warrior lodges. Vataro never appreciated the warrior lodges. He thought they were, places where, underlings would go to disrespect their superior officers, and he never liked that it was always behind closed doors, so he refused to join. So it was that plus his willingness to reform his company that, saved him and kept him on going with his, kept on going as captain of the 115th. Ooh, Necron Tombworld. Cool. So yeah, no, 115th Company originally was just a standard line company, when the Legion was around, fight on their terms, frontal assault, stuff like that. But when Corax regained charge of the Legion and began reforming, the 115th Company kind of became a dumping ground, really, for all of the weapons and tactics. Oh, no, Four Marines not having that. Weapons and, equipment that he didn't want anymore. So, basically, they were given, destroyer squads. Destroyer squads were transferred to the 115th Company permanently. They were given 10 suits of cataphracti warplate because, Terminator armor isn't really part of the Raven Guard's new stealthy image. They were even given a full set of breacher, Mark III breacher armor. Basically, officially it was gifts to the 115th Company to allow them to perform better, but in reality it was just, them dumping all this unnecessary equipment on them. But Vataro was fine about it because, with this equipment it allowed him to fight more in the style of the old pre-Corax day, as opposed to the modern style of fighting. But it didn't mean he didn't appreciate hit-and-run tactics, and he did like the idea of fast raiding assaults. So that always went down well. Yeah. So, no. Vataro and the 115th, fought along with the Great Crusade with their Primarch. They never really, once again, they were a line company. Because there was a lot of Terrans in them, they never really stood out. But they never really, did anything wrong enough to get them exiled or, sent away. So, that's always a good thing for them. Yeah. Vataro's... Oh yes, I was getting back to his nickname as the Red-Handed. His nickname as the Red-Handed, not only for, beating people to death with his bare hands when his chainsword broke, but it was also gifted to him because, as a part of his stature, Vataro and being a ranking Legion officer, Vataro was elected to be one of the Honor Guard members for Corax's first official return trip to Terra. during the Great Crusade, acting as an honor guard for Corax and his company as they toured the Mechanicum facilities on Mars, visited Terra, and did all of those sort of things. And while on Mars, Vataro discovered in the forging, in the Mechanicum forges, while the Mechanicum were making Corax's lightning claws and power whip for him, he discovered a master-crafted Paragon Blade left on a brand new, just finished Paragon Blade left on the table, left on a Forge Master's table, that hadn't been gene-coded yet. And Vataro nicked it, basically. His chainsaw was always breaking and, needed repairing anyway, so he basically nicked it, got the Tech Marines to gene-code it to his, gene print for himself, and wielded it as his primary weapon. Rutulus Ferrum was the name of the blade. It was a master-crafted Paragon Blade, whose mastery, artistry and masterclass nature would deem it worthy for a Legion Master or even a Primarch. But Vataris nicked it, and one of the other members of his company caught him red-handed doing it, and instead of reporting him, just laughed it off, and that's why he got the name Red-Handed. I like adding little bits and pieces. When you create a company or a world or something, add little stories to give character to your, characters really. Give them flaws and struggles and, cheeky little details. It's like how Vataro also wields a Archaeotech pistol, which he was awarded on his promotion to captain, because when he was a sergeant, him and the 115th Company were fighting against a human colony that refused to accept, the Imperium's new divine, holy rule, and the 115th were the ones storming the palace when the evil tyrant of the planet, using an Archaeotech pistol, gunned down Vataro's former captain. And as a result, Vataro basically knocked the Archaeotech pistol out of the fat chubby king's hands and shot him 3 times in the head with it. So as a result for his killing the enemy tyrant, he was awarded not only captain rank for the 115th, apparently recommended by Horus himself, because apparently Horus had heard of his deed, but after it was blessed and the machines to repair it calmed and repaired, he was also awarded the Archaeotech pistol as well, so that he could use it to bring righteous death upon the enemies of the Emperor, which I also quite like. It's a nice little feature. But yeah, I've been talking so much about Vataro, I haven't really got one to the company, have I? So yes, the 115th, basically standard line company with a whole bunch of misfit, weapons and armor and stuff like that. Breach of Siege. They have a full strength Breach of Siege squad, a full strength, Legion Destroyer squad. Heavy weapons, stuff like that. 10 suits of Cataphractii Warplate. A lot of a mismatched company, if you will. But they've fought well, fought hard, fought during the original Istvan campaign, defeating the Istvanians and the War Singers to secure the planet or the system for the Imperium, which was very good. And just silently did their own thing serving Corax, which leads to the Heresy. During the Heresy, Vataro and his men, and Vataro was incredibly angry that, people he'd served alongside, the Sons of Horus, those he trusted and believed in, could dare turn against the Imperium, and was determined to gut every single, lunar wolf he could find. Served on the Drop Site Massacre, he basically had a massive righteous wrath-induced rage and just tore into the enemies of everyone he could find. Him and his company did receive heavy damage in the initial assault because they just basically went all out into the original attack. And unfortunately, when because of the initial damage they sustained, they were quite close to the gunships when the betrayal happened. So Vitaro, and out of his entire company, only 20, Vitaro himself, and 28 of his Marines actually managed to escape to a Thunderhawk, which they then escaped onto a Salamander strike cruiser, which, while was very heavily damaged, managed to warp out of the system. Vitaro lost most of his friends and basically 90% of his company in that attack. From there, they served on a Salamander's strike cruiser, hit and run tactics throughout the Heresy, fighting backwards and forwards alongside the Salamanders and some Iron Hands that were on the ship. Incidentally, Vitaro did not get on well with the Iron Hands. The Iron Hands basically openly blamed Vitaro and Corax for Varys Manus' death and called Vitaro weak. And one Iron Hand tactical marine actually called him weak to his face, in which Vitaro drew his Paragon Blade and cut off the Iron Hand's arm. And if it wasn't for the Salamander Sergeant, who was in charge of the Salamander's contingent on the ship, talking him down, he would have basically killed him for daring to call his Primarch weak and daring to blame him for the death of Varys Manus. Ever since then, Vitaro swore never to serve alongside the Iron Hands again after they got off that ship, which was coincidental because about 4 months after that, they ended up in the Ultramar system, where Vitaro regrouped with the Raven Guard survivors on Ultramar, and basically served under Lord Guilliman's command until the end of the Heresy. Yeah, and the 115th Company never really rebuilt after that, and unfortunately Vitaro himself was killed 65 years after the Heresy, because him and his original Marines eventually became members of the Black Guard chapter during the Second Founding, and Vitaro became First Company Captain. But unfortunately, he was killed by a World Eater Terminator. Yeah, 65 years after the Heresy. But his Paragon Blade, his borrowed Paragon Blade, ended up becoming a prized relic amongst the Blackguard chapter, and a weapon only gifted to the First Company Captain, in service of their duty, to the Imperium, and the service of their, First Company Captain. So yeah, if you actually sat through this and you're not asleep, then congratulations. I appreciate it, and, I liked getting this off my chest and actually telling people about my little weird ideas and companies and stuff like that. In terms of actual model strength, I actually do have a few models. I actually have Vitaro himself modelled. Mark IV power armor, jump pack, Paragon Blade, Archaeotech pistol, Raven Guard shoulder pads, nothing too fancy, but, it definitely marks him out as a captain. And I have the Betrayal at Kelf box set. I need to, when the currency, converter is a bit more favourable and I can actually, convert a bit of currency over, I'm going to buy the Breacher Siege Squad and the Legion Destroyers and the other 5 Cataphracti to fit the full company, and then go from there, and hopefully I'll be able to get the 115th Company done in about the same time my brother gets his Sons of Horus 87th Company done, so we can have a few fights. That should be interesting. But who knows what the future will hold. So yeah, if you have a force or a idea or a company or anything, put them in the comments below. I'd be interested to hear what you have to say, or if you don't want to put it all in a all in the comment section, link me to a video or link me to a forum or whatever. I'd be interested to hear, guys. So yes, thank you for listening to me bore you to death for about half an hour. And I guess I will see you all again another time. Bye.